live over here. I feel like you guys haven't been able to see when I sit over here on YouTube. So I'm going to try and fix that, but now I might cut off my head. So it might be adjusting. Adjusting again. This is always kind of trial and error, you know? Weather and all kinds of fun stuff. All right, so let's get going live over here. For God's sake. We're good there, and we're live over here. All right. So I'm working a little bit on my angles again. It's, you know, the weather and whether it's wet or sunny or too cold or too hot, depends on how this all works out. So, how is everybody this morning? Holler if you're here. I think my neighbors. Hi, Debbie, Sandy, Amy, you guys beat me here. All right. Some of my neighbors are a little loud. Okay. I don't know. I'm gonna have to fix YouTube somehow, but all right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, gosh, I'm getting a late start today. Oof, my brain went someplace else just then. So, morning, happy Saturday, happy Super Bowl Saturday, happy Grace Saturday. Maybe not where you are, hopefully, right? Today, I thought we would get into our hips a little bit. So, some of the same places we were last week with folds, right? Because folds kind of stretch out the backs of our hips, right? But we want to get into the fronts, the insides, and the outsides as well. So you can kind of think of, yay, hips, I'm glad that resonates this morning. You can kind of think of the hip having four corners, and if you're only stretching the back side, say with your folds, right, or in your seated position when, say, you're sitting at your desk or in your car or wherever your couch, maybe these days, I don't really know. It's only stretching that one area and your hips might feel tight. So keep that in your brain. Know that one area will probably be a little bit more flexible than another, right? It's what you habitually do. And we don't habitually open our hips too much in normal life, right? So, so yeah, just kind of keep that in mind. Remember to make this yours, right? If you have any issues that you need to work on, you can go deeper into things. If there's areas that your body says, then don't go there, right? This is always up to you. And even when you're in like a normal class with people, try not to compare yourself with what your neighbor is doing, right? This is all about you. Isn't that nice? Something that's all about you, right? And just respect your body, and it will change and grow and hopefully improve, right? You'll reach a point where that's as good as it gets. So don't worry if you can't hit a certain pose, right? Ever in your whole life. You could practice your whole life and not get this one thing. So what? Right? It doesn't make you a bad yogi at all. So So yeah, let's go. Let me just check in with everybody. Hi guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. So all right, let me do. This is not my strong part, this whole technology thing. So let's start seated here. Heels aligning to the groin as much as you can. Remember, you can always prop up. You can use a block or you can use a book or a blanket or a bolster if you have a bolster, right? Whatever you need to maybe lift your hips a little higher if this is not a comfortable place. So make sure you're upright on your pelvis, right? We want to be even. If you notice when you sit anywhere, right, on your couch, at your desk, in the car, right, your hips might not be very level, and you really want to work that here, always, right, but especially here. And then activate your lower belly. So lift your pelvic floor, pull your lower belly in and up like an ice cream scoop, right? That should kind of set the pelvis in the proper place. And then we want to sit tall through the sides. Try to release your upper belly, right? So when we talk about abdominals, we're usually talking about the lower belly and letting the upper belly be soft. So sitting tall here, go ahead and relax into your hips and shoulders. Close your eyes and just take a moment to take a little mental assessment of what's going on in your body this morning. Sometimes we wake up a little stiff. Maybe we worked hard yesterday, worked out, went to the gym, did something weird or different, and you've got a different sensation going on in your body. So just kind of check in and be aware. Letting that awareness move to your breath. And remember, what makes this yoga is your connection to your breath, so you could stretch all day long, right, and not have it really be yoga. So begin to stretch your breath out. And come to a place that is just beyond comfortable. So even your breath is getting a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of work. And then the real trick is to stay connected to that breath, even as you're moving your body into these kind of strange places sometimes. And then we're going to connect movement to that breath. So let's extend the arms out to the sides, and on an inhale, stretch them up toward the ceiling. And then exhale, bring them back down again. We'll do that again. And once more. Coming back up to the top, inhale. And then exhale, just your right hand back to the mat. Give yourself a little tip over to that side. Keeping the pelvis level, stretch long through your left side. And then inhaling, let's come back up to the middle. And we'll switch, taking it over to the left. Nice big breath. Inhale, come on back to center. And then back over to the right. See if you can get a little bit deeper stretch this time. Coming back up to the middle. And then the last time over to the left. So if your shoulders bother you, can keep the arm out of the equation entirely. Coming back up to center again. Exhale, releasing the arms. Sitting nice and tall, let's go ahead and bring the right hand over to the left knee. Left hand behind the back a little bit here. Nice, easy little twist, like someone kind of called your name behind you. Right? And notice where in your spine you move the most. What's the most open? Where's a little tighter? Releasing that, we'll come back to the middle again. Take the second side, same idea. Noticing what naturally occurs, so then we can make sure that that's proper, right? So let's release that, come on back to center. Let's go back to that first side. So use the arms, use your left arm like a second spine. Bring it close to your bottom there, push it into the floor. It helps you sit tall, it's nice, right? And then use your right hand against your knee or your thigh, wherever you can keep this right shoulder back. And then you can give a little pull, right? Rotating around to use the arms. See if you can rotate from your belly button. And then your rib cage, your chest, your shoulders, and maybe looking over your shoulder. But the spine stays in this tall line and just rotates around nice and evenly, hopefully. Take one more breath here. We're going to release that, come on back to center, kind of unwinding. And then the same idea to the second side. So use your arms sitting up nice and tall and just gently pull around. Take your time with that. You may find after a breath or two that something maybe loosens up a little bit. Maybe by the end of class at least, right? You can breathe here, right? Let's come on back to center. So here we're going to take the fingers behind the lower back and interlace. Draw your shoulder blades together, reach the knuckles towards your seat behind you here. And we're going to hinge forward, maybe, right? So think belly button to heels. Keep the shoulders back and keep the arms stretching down the back toward the floor. They may still touch the floor or not, that doesn't matter. You can lift your hands away from your lower back if you like. And just have a gentle little bend in your elbows so we don't hyperextend there. We're going to take one more breath here. And then inhale as you come back to center. Before you release your fingers, think about which thumb is on top back there. Release your fingers and then switch which foot you have in front. If this feels super weird, change up when you sit which foot comes in front and which is in back, right? Just periodically, so it feels less weird. Take your fingers, interlace with the other thumb on top. Again, kind of strange. Shoulders pull together, knuckles reach away, and you hinge forward here. Noticing the differences, keeping the chest open and lifted here. Breathing. And then gently hinging back up and releasing your fingers. Instead of having your feet crossed, go ahead and bring the soles of the feet together. Four corners of the feet are going to press into each other here. Try to release your inner hip as much as it will go. And hang on to your ankles so you can draw your heels in a little closer to your hips. You can pull against the ankles to help you sit up tall. And you can use your elbows at your inner hips. Try not to use them at the knees. Bring them in tight and gently encourage the hips to drop toward the floor. Maybe someday they will. And if you want to add a little bit more, you can hinge forward again, belly button to heels. Pressing the four corners of the feet into each other a little bit more firmly changes the sensation. So see if that's for you. We'll take one more breath here. And then we're going to hinge back up again. So let's extend the legs. Feet are hip bone distance apart, just as if we were standing up. We want to flex the feet, pointing the toes toward the ceiling. If you need to adjust on your seat, feel free to do that at any point. If you are still lifted up on a block, just watch that your knees stay soft. So we're going to sit up, reach the arms, and then hinge forward. Come into a fold, whatever that fold looks like for now. Releasing the hands to the shins or the thighs or maybe your toes, but try not to reach and round. So follow your breath here, a little bit of inhale, filling into the belly, lifting up out of the fold maybe a little bit, and then exhaling and dropping in maybe a little deeper. So just a gentle little lift and fall. We'll take one more breath like that. And then just kind of hold in this maybe deeper fold. Make sure the shoulders are back. Imagine leading with your sternum toward your toes. So your chest, right? Your breastbone toward your toes. And then with the next inhale, we're going to come back up to the top. Release the arms. And from there, make your way around onto all fours. So cushion your knees or your wrists if you need a little bit of cushion. Don't go crazy with the cushion because then it's unstable, right? But if your wrists are bothering you or it's too much for your knees, give yourself a little love. Right? Spread your fingers nice and wide and be as even on the four corners of the hands as we can. We tend to lean into that outer wrist. We want to make sure that the base of the index finger is grounded just as evenly. And then some cat cows here. With the inhale, drop your belly toward the floor. And with the exhale, round your spine toward the ceiling. In and out like that. Connected to the breath. Gently working into the spine just as evenly as you can, just like with our twist. One area or two maybe you want to open very easily and then another is stuck. See if you can gently encourage that stuck place to open. We'll go once more like that in each direction. And then we'll find a middle. So making sure your belly's still working, let's shift into a kneeling plank. So hands forward or knees back, however you have to make that happen. And then let the hips come forward without sagging. Right? Nice long line from the crown of your head back through your knees here. Even on the four corners of the hands, the shoulders are neutral on the back. That all stays the same. And you can definitely hold on your knees. We won't be here terribly much longer. You can come up into a full plank if you want to move into full plank. So extend through your heels, make your legs nice and strong. You're breathing here too, right? And then from there, let's go ahead and lift the hips, making your way toward your first down dog. And just allowing yourself to stretch. So you can shift your hips, you can shift your shoulders, you can bicycle your heels, whatever feels good. And then allow yourself to really sink into it here. So ground into your hands, press your chest back. Trying to keep the upper body in this nice long line. And this should really look like a variation of your seated fold, right? About a 90-ish degree in the hips, maybe. Press your heels toward the floor. They may or may not touch. And then let's go ahead and step the right foot forward and come to a lunge. So don't worry if your toes don't make it. Drop the back knee, wiggle your toes to the top of your mat as your body will go, right? So knee ankle alignment here. Let's go ahead and take that leg straight or straight-ish. You can prop using a block, using your shin or your thigh. Focus on your hips here, right? So a lot of times, especially if we're a little tighter, the hips will shift and do something weird to try and help keep the legs straight. If it doesn't go straight, don't panic. Okay? Work to keep your hips square and stable. Let's bend into the knee and let the hips shift forward. With the same idea, you can be propped if you need to prop, but focus on where your hips are. Again, it'll do this weird shifting thing to take you deeper, but it's not really deeper. Just compensating. Extend out through the crown of your head here. And we're going to bring the right hand to the hip, adding in a little twist. So imagine rotating your belly button, your side ribs, and your shoulder, sort of like we did when we were seated. And the pelvis stays pretty neutral, like we were seated. Release the twist. Take the legs straight again. And see if you can take the leg a little straighter. If it's already straight, you don't want to hyperextend it first. Maybe pull a little deeper. Shoulders stay back. Again, leading with your chest towards your toes. One more time here, go ahead and bend into your knees. Let the hips shift low. Lifting the chest. Let's climb up on the thigh. Lift the chest here even more. You'll feel more sensation in the front of the left hip. The quad, maybe you can hold on or reach the arms up. And then we'll release the arms and step back into down dog. So let's take the second side, left foot forward. Dropping the right knee, adjusting your toes until they get to the top of the mat, protecting your knee. When you're ready, go ahead and take the left leg straight. So the same idea on this side, and it may or may not be the same, right? One side can be quite a bit different than another. Just kind of go with it, see where you are. Shifting forward. Maintaining the alignment and stability in the pelvis, and then adding in your twist. Left hand to the hip. Let's release the twist. Take the leg straight again. See if you can find a little bit more sensation this time. And then we'll bend one more time. Sink into the hips without letting them sag. Climb up on the thigh. Lift the chest. And maybe lift the arms. Take your time. Notice where your body is comfortable and then move just a little bit deeper than that. Releasing. And then moving back to your down dog. Dropping down to the knees, go ahead and take a child's pose. And you can work a little bit deeper here by sitting your hips back more, opening your knees up and letting your belly sag through. No, sag is bad. Sink through. And then stretch those arms long again. Ground into the four corners of the hands. We're going to lift back to our down dog. From there, stepping the feet forward and coming into a standing fold. So ground into the four corners of your feet here. Make sure your belly's working. We're going to take the legs straight. So even if you don't touch your toes, don't worry about that. Bring your hands maybe to your thighs. And then press the upper body so you're parallel-ish to the floor. This might be a lot like a full fold. If it is, right? Trying to maintain that evenness on the feet. So if you feel like you're leaning into your heels, find even again. Belly's working. You're supporting on your thighs as much or as little as you need. And the arms can maybe even come down by your sides, hugging into the hips and waist. They can fly out to the sides. Maintain the straight legs, the evenness in your feet, and your shoulders back. If that all works, you can stretch your arms forward, arms in line with the ears. Notice what happens if you start to collapse. Change where the arms are. Right? Take one more breath. Bend into the knees and sit into a chair. So the arms can, again, maybe be extended. You can have them down by your side. You can be hanging on. You can come to center, perhaps, if that's you. Take one more breath. And then inhale and stretch to the ceiling, releasing the arms next to your sides. All right, so I cut off my head on YouTube. Let's inhale, stretch the arms up. Exhale, take yourself over into a fold. Inhaling, come halfway up. With the exhale, we're gonna step ourselves back into a plank or kneeling plank. You decide, always. Elbows tight to the sides, we're gonna drop on down to the belly. Hands next to the side ribs, so slide them back a little bit. Inhale, roll into your shoulders, tiny little baby cobra, and then release, moving back to down dog. Inhale, step your feet forward, back to the fold. One step or 20, whatever it takes to get there. Halfway up with your next inhale. And then back over again. Inhale, reach to the ceiling. And exhale, release your arms. So again, exactly like that. If you need to modify, certainly modify. If you want to go deeper, maybe let's go deeper. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, fold forward. Halfway up on an inhale. Exhaling back into your plank. You decide, knees or no, elbows tight, everything hits the floor together, yeah? Hands next to your side ribs. Little roll, maybe pull and lengthen your spine coming up a little higher. Release that, everything off the floor together, back to your down dog. And then inhale, step forward, fold. Halfway up. And back over on an exhale. Reaching to the ceiling, inhale. And exhale, release. So we're gonna add on a little bit. If you need to modify by skipping something, one thing or another, certainly take your time and work with your breath. If you need an extra breath here or there, take it. Okay. So let's go ahead and inhale, sit into our chair. And then exhale, take yourself into fold. Halfway up on the inhale. Exhaling back to your plank or kneeling and dropping down to the belly. Inhale as you roll, pull, maybe a little press for deeper cobra. Release that. Elbows in, up and back, down dog. With the inhale, step your right foot forward into lunge. Toes all the way up there, just like before. You can drop the back knee or the back heel and lift the upper body, reaching. Exhale, come on back down. Step back, down dog. Slide forward plank. Drop down. Roll to cobra. Back to down dog. And then the left foot's gonna step forward. You decide back heel or knee to the mat. On an inhale, lift the upper body. Exhale, back down again, and down dog. Sliding forward to your plank. Exhaling to the belly. Roll, pull, press to your cobra, squeeze those elbows, and then release. Back to down dog. Hold in your down dog, or drop on down into your child's pose. Make sure that the breath is flowing just like it was, maybe, when we first started. Ideally, yes. Okay? So the idea isn't to have the perfect pose or the most sun salutations that you could possibly do. It's to have that even, smooth, controlled breath as you do these things. So that may or may not be reality just yet. Work with it, right? So take one more breath wherever you are. Back to down dog. And then stepping forward into fold. Halfway up with your inhale. Exhaling back over. Coming into chair, inhale. And then releasing it all, standing tall. Okay. So from here, let's go ahead and take a nice big step back with the right foot. And we're gonna work into a triangle here, right? So left toes point forward, right toes cut in just a little bit, okay? If the hips are a little tighter, they'll need to point in a little bit more, right? If the hips are more open, as the toe points more out more, this right hip can open more, right? It makes sense, yeah? Watching that this knee is soft and pointing forward. So as open as you can be to the side of the mat here, we're gonna stretch the arms out. Reach over your left toes as far as you can reach. Create space in the left side of the body. And then drop the left hand and reach the right hand up toward the hip ceiling. The hand can actually be at your hip here if it's too much for the shoulder, as long as the shoulder is drawing back. You can lean on the left leg if you need to lean, but only if you need to lean. Take one more breath here. And then we're gonna release, come over into lunge. So up on the back toes, so now that right hip can definitely come forward again. Let's take the left leg straight, or straightish. So basically just a deeper version of where we were earlier. And if you need to be down on the right knee, take the right knee to the floor or prop up like we did earlier. Okay. So imagine leading with your chest toward your toes. Take one more breath here. And then bend into this left knee. Let your hips come down. Prop if you need to prop. You can be at the outside or on the inside. Yeah, either way, propped or not. Drop the back heel, so we're opening that hip again. Try not to let your bones stick out to the left. Tuck it up underneath. Okay, opening that right hip. And then again here, the right arm can maybe reach toward the ceiling. Okay. So modify as you need to modify. You can even climb up to the thigh here if you need to. Okay. So lifting the upper body so that the hips can sink. Take one more breath here. And then release, come back over into the lunge. And let's go ahead and drop the back knee. So you can still be propped here for sure. Bring your left hand to the inside of your knee here, or your foot, your hand to your inside of your foot. Shoulder into the knee, yeah? So the hips are gonna stay coming forward and you're gonna descend into your hips as much as you can. You can stay up on your hands here or bending into your elbows, chest, toward the floor. Belly toward the floor, right? So you wanna keep the hips sinking. Your chest can come closer to the floor if you lift your hips, but sink into your hips instead. Keep the knee hugging into the shoulder. And then see what happens here, right? You can come back up onto your hands if you dropped really low. We're gonna take that left hand behind the heel. So that's pretty weird. Look where your shoulder is in relationship to your knee, right? This is good. If you can, see, if you can kind of wiggle and bring your shoulder more behind your knee. So you're just trying to dig as much of that left arm underneath the leg as you can. So if you're just happy with your hand, that's good, right? Keep the hips dropping forward. If you're got some leverage here, when you lean the hips forward, you're kind of leaning against the back of the left calf, right? Lift your left hand up off the floor. Almost nothing changes, right? Because you've got the leverage. Keep the hips square. If you're willing and able, lift your right hand. One more breath. And then release what you got. Wiggle on out of that. And step back to down dog. Take your time. Shift, wiggle, whatever you got to do here. And then we're going to switch sides so that we're even, stepping forward with the right foot. Toes to fingers. We'll drop the back heel, lift the upper body,
And we're kind of like we want to be for our second side. So just check in that your feet are exactly where you need for them to be. Right toes pointing forward, left toes cut in. Again, kind of watching where this hip needs to be, making the left toes move in that same direction. So as open as you can be to the side, stretch out your arms, reach forward over your right toes, and then hinge over. Leaning if you have to lean, adjusting the left hand if that's you. In your mind, imagine being between two planes of glass. Okay? So the hips are as stacked as they can be, the shoulders, same idea. Head is in line. Okay? A lot of times the head will lean forward, so that's where the shoulders go. Right? Lean it back. One more breath. And then let's come over into our lunge. Up on the back toes or down on the back knee. When you're ready, the right leg straight again. And then folding here, keeping the hips square, moving as deep into this stretch as you can. We're going to bend back into the right knee. If you drop the left, you'll have to lift. Drop that heel. And again, adjust where your hands are, outside, inside, up on a block, up on the thigh, whatever, right? The left arm is going to sweep up toward the ceiling. So we're in that kind of stacked and open position again. The hips stay nice and low. So again, it's fine to get the fingertips to the floor, but not if the hips are lifting up. We've kind of lost the point, right? So keep the hips nice and low. Take one more breath. And then release, coming back over into that lunge again, dropping down to the back knee, even if you didn't before. And then we'll slide the hands to the inside of the foot here. Hug the knee into the shoulder. Let your hips descend. This is a crazy stretch, and if it's enough for sure. If you want to just maybe bend into the elbows a little bit, maybe they'll come to the floor. Maybe you're still using a block. Right, bringing the floor to your elbows. Trying to keep the back flat and descend into the hips, so belly toward the floor-ish. So remember, you can come in, come out, go deeper or not, right? Coming back up, keeping the knee into the shoulder, slide the hand behind the heel. And if you can, wiggle to get a little bit more leverage. Again, this is pretty crazy already, but see if you can wiggle and get a little deeper. So the more leverage you have, the more you can lean forward and sort of support yourself on this right thigh, or not thigh, calf, right? Lifting the right hand. If you have enough leverage, belly in, hips square, and maybe the left hand lifts, right? See what happens. Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe on one side, maybe not on the other. Take one more breath and release. Hands back to the mat, wiggle out from under, and back to your down dog again. Let yourself wiggle. And then drop on down to the knees and give yourself a child's pose. Again, adjusting even in your child's pose, right? That seems like it's a super easy, very basic position, but there's a lot of stretch going on, right? So whether your knees are closer or not, whether your hips are back more, where your hands are, right? Play with it and make this like the best child's pose ever. We're going to lift back up into down dog one more time. Walking the hands to meet the feet. Into your standing fold. And then let's take a little bend in the knees. On an inhale, roll your spine all the way up to standing. And stand tall here. So we're going to take a standing balance. So if you want to be off your mat or near a wall, just in case, certainly make that adjustment for yourself here. We're going to stretch out the front of the hips like we've been. So remember, that's the idea, not how deep it goes. Okay? So let's take all the weight over into the left foot. We're going to bend the right knee, foot back. You can bring it in front if it makes it more accessible. We're going to take the right hand and find the right foot. So that might be the challenge. All right, standing tall wherever you are. The more the knee points at the floor, the bigger stretch you're going to get in your right leg. Left leg is tall, shoulders are back. You can hang here. You can extend the left arm up toward the ceiling if that's you. Maybe hinge forward, but you got to lift the leg behind. Because if your upper body comes forward, but your knee is pointing at the floor, you lose the stretch in the right leg, all right? Take one more breath. Gently hinge back up. And release the foot. All right, so same idea on your second side. Again, it may or may not look the same. So let's take the weight, right? Bend the left knee. And then the left hand to the foot. Practice where the challenge is. Remember where you're comfortable. And then there's that little bit of beyond in every pose, right? So find that here. Adding on or not. Sometimes holding, you can hold deeper, longer, or you can come out before I'm cueing to come out. On the inhale, hinge yourself back up if you haven't already, and release the leg. So let's stretch the arms up, big inhale. Gently take yourself over into fold. Back into a down dog. And then drop on down. Take it to the belly this time. All right. So while we're here on the belly, you want to make sure the pelvis stays pressing into the floor. Tailbone tucking toward the heels. Depending on how your brain sees this. So grounding into the pelvis so we keep the lower back long and happy. If at any point this does bother your lower back, skip it. Okay. So in that standing pose, we grabbed one foot. This time we're going to grab them both because you can't fall down. Okay. So see what happens. Maybe only one at a time. It's fine. Okay. Reaching back, find your feet. Flex your foot if you can, your feet if you can, and you can hang onto your ankles a little bit better that way, get a little bit more leverage. Rounding into the pelvis. You can press your feet into your hands to lift your chest a little more. You can lift your thighs up off the floor if that sounds like a good idea. Notice if you rise and fall with your breath, that is not a bad thing. And then release without releasing your feet. So we want to keep that same idea, pressing the hips down into the floor. And we're going to add on and play a little bit. So some of you know where we're going. Press the feet into the hands, lift the chest, maybe lift the thighs. Again, high is not necessarily the goal this time. Keep your lower back happy. Kick yourself over to the right. And then back to the middle and over to the left. If you have a little bit of momentum going, it's easier, but do what you gotta do. Roll back to the right. And center and left. One more time on each side like that. Keep the tailbone tucked under. When you're back over to the left again, release your feet and roll over onto your back. I guess that doesn't work out here so much. So back onto your back.
And then once you kind of straighten out and find your way back to your mat, just take a second to make sure your spine feels aligned first. And then release it into the floor. So releasing the muscles, finding that neutral place for your spine again. And then gently drawing the knees into the chest, allowing yourself to rock a little bit. So go ahead and keep your knees into your chest here and take your shins vertical. So it looks like your feet are stepping on the ceiling. Reach up, grab for the soles of your feet. You may notice your spine start to round a little bit here, and that's all right for now. Pull down on your feet, keeping your shins vertical, and maybe find your knees a little closer to your armpits. And then wiggle, right? You can shift and rock a little bit here. Moving into one side and then the other. Maybe rocking side to side, or maybe letting the spine round a little bit and then flatten back out again. Any little variations, any little wiggles and shifts that feel good. And then coming back to that center, and instead of hanging on to the soles of the feet, reach up, index and middle fingers, wrap around your big toes. We're going to see about taking the legs straighter and wider. They do not have to be straight. They do not have to be super wide. Whatever this ends up looking like, right? And then just let yourself roll and rock around a little bit here. And maybe you can even rock enough to one side that your toes will touch the floor. And someday you're laying flat on your back with both pinky toes touching the floor on either side, right? Or not. So find your center. Bend your knees, hang back onto the soles of your feet again, pulling down, knees into armpits. And then kicking your feet back into your hands. So you're not going to let the legs win. They will if you let them. But you're going to push enough and pull back enough that you make your muscles shake a little bit. And you may find your spine relaxing into the floor a little, right? Or neutralizing on the floor. Take one more breath. And then gently release the feet, taking them back to the mat. Give yourself just a moment. Make sure the spine feels neutral, you're level on your pelvis and all. Soles of the feet come together, let the knees fall open to the sides. Release your hips, right? Let your legs just be heavy. If you prefer here, you can rest on a block, rest your thigh, your outer thigh there on a block or on a blanket or bolster or whatever you've got available to you, so that the inner hip can really release here. We've worked very hard into that, and we want to give it some love. If it feels good, you can take the tops of your hands to the tops of your thighs, and then just a little bit of a press away from the upper body. It'll create a little space. If it doesn't feel right, don't worry about it, and don't yank it, right? I mean, just let it release very gently. You never want to shove or never want to move violently. So let's gently release the hands. We're going to bring those knees back in. And then draw them into the chest again, rocking.
So we're gonna finish with our final twist and just take whatever variation of twist feels good, right? So some of the options you can add things in, change it up, whatever. Some of the options are to maybe have your knees a little closer to your chest and just let them fall to the side, right? You have your feet to the floor and then let your knees fall to the side. Right? You can shift your hips and let them fall. So either side, any variation, crossing your legs, taking one or both straight, whatever feels right for your body at this moment. And just a quick little on-topic story. The first time I was told to do that in a yoga class, I was pretty new and I didn't know what the heck to do. Right? Well, I don't know yoga, right? You don't have to know yoga, you have to know your body. And I didn't know that either at the time. But that's the trick, right? You don't have to know the yoga pose. You have to know where your body needs to be in space. Take one more breath. Gently make your way back to the center. And the same variation of whatever you just did, take that to your second side. Allowing yourself to listen to the cues that your body gives you. And that goes for at any moment, not just any yoga pose. Knowing what your body needs and listening. That's the key. Let's take another big breath. And then we'll gently make our way back to center again. Drawing the knees back into the chest and letting yourself rock. So kind of shake it out again, whatever you did. Squeeze the knees in as tight to the chest as you can get. Pull your forehead toward your knees. Feel the spine round up. And then release into a full body stretch. Release your stretch and let your arms come down by your sides. Take a moment to make the body comfortable again. So checking in with your alignment. If you prefer a seated meditation here, you can absolutely move into that. You can prop with a bolster. You can take your feet flat or extend the legs extended. Wherever it's going to be here. And then let yourself release into this place. Bringing your awareness back slowly to the breath. And releasing control. Inviting that stillness and quiet into the mind. Staying present and relaxed for just a few more minutes here.
connected to this quiet place, knowing you can come back here whenever you want. Allow your breath to gently deepen. Allow your body to gradually move and stretch. When you're ready, taking your feet flat if they're not already. Rolling yourself to the side, take your time. Maintaining this quiet and gently make your way up to seated. And draw the palms to touch. Bowing your head to your feet. From my heart to yours. Namaste. Thanks for playing today, you guys. Thanks for all the love over there. All right, remember if you have comments or questions or you want to reach out over the 5-day, 15-minute program challenge. I don't remember if I mentioned that at the beginning, but starting Monday, 5 days in a row, 15 minutes of yoga practice. I'll send out an email, or I've got a Facebook group that I can add you to that every day that'll be posted. You do it whenever you want, but it's 15 minutes every day. Hopefully it'll kind of jumpstart any practice you want, or any practice you want to build. So yeah, come play. Come play. I've got some fun stuff in mind. So have a great weekend. Go Bucks. And we'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks, guys.